Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be all about Namor, so a champion that has recently been added to the contest and he came in with a big splash. So first off, we're going to check out his damage output. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of the videos, but we're going over it again. And as we're kind of building up, because he is a burst damage champion, his huge damage is hidden between his level 3 attack or multiples of his level 3 attacks. His damage potential is completely unrelated to his signature ability, so keep that in mind. He will still be able to do exactly the same damage unduped. That does not kind of increase his damage output at all. And as we all know, Namor is also suicide friendly. If he is awakened, especially, then he's suicide friendly, because while you're striking the opponent, your opponent is taking the damage for you, but you still get your willpower heal. So every combo you shoot at opponent, you basically get a few percent of your life back. Also, he has a heal every time he launches his specials based on his missing health, so that often helps to mitigate recoil damage. And as you can see here, we got to our first level 1, 36 hits in the fight. Level 3. Now the second level 3, 38 hits, and we're gonna see what happens now, and the fight is going to be pretty much over. So that is how your typical Namor fight will go. If you shoot 1 or 2 level 3s, and then your damage just goes through the roof. 76k, not crit 22k, 153k. So that was like well over 200k special 2. We shoot another one, 56 hits, and Winter Soldier goes down. Super easy, hardly any trouble for Namor. So damage potential definitely is there. However, in order to access that great damage, it kind of reminds me of Thor Ragnarok, and that is what we're going to use as an example in this fight. And even though Thor Ragnarok is going to require more hits to take down that Winter Soldier, the fight is extremely similar. Kind of the base point is to basically do nothing up until the point you get your level 3, you shoot off your level 3, then you explode. So now, even though Thor Ragnarok is going to take more hits, the fight is easier with Thor Ragnarok pretty much just because you can spam special attacks, you can stun, it's easier to get level 3, you don't actually have to manually do it, you have a power gain that does it for you. As soon as you shoot off your first level 3, you're in business, you're going to be dealing insane amount of damage. And yeah, these two play much more similar than I would like to admit when it comes to kind of like using them to their full damage and max potential. Obviously, I'm not saying Thor Ragnarok is as good as Namor. No, he's much worse champion. I don't like Thor Ragnarok at all, but I'm just using this fight as an example of a champions that hide their damage behind level 3 attacks, and in general, I don't like any of them. I think it's much kind of like more fun, quick, easy, less boring when you can ramp up your champions without involving those long level 3 animations. And kind of by definition, just because of the fact that you need to shoot multiples of your special 3s, Namor kind of like takes a bit of a backseat to me in terms of enjoyment of the character. Because here, Thor Ragnarok, okay, he's at 90 hits, but the opponent was stunned for half of that time, and he's gonna go down like 100 hits, so Namor can outdamage him. But still, it's not all that much different from Thor Ragnarok when you actually play the character. Now, the things that save Namor is number 1, he's absolutely non-reliant to his synergies, which is one of the more important traits about Namor. He doesn't need any of his synergies, and kind of nice to have. He does exactly the same thing without synergies, and recently that's kind of a pleasant welcome change, because many of the new characters do rely on their synergies. And also, another great aspect for Namor is that he's suicide friendly. That is immensely huge thing for people who like to run suicides, and that is important. And lastly, his signature ability, now we're talking about Namor when he's awakened, is a game changer. His signature ability is one of a kind currently in contest and is absolutely amazing and can be used in many different scenarios. So right now we're taking a look at a fight in Variant 2, where we're supposed to get glanced. We still get glanced, but we do not take any damage from glancing. Opponent does that for us, and it's just amazing. You can use Namor in so many different places where he technically isn't even meant to be used, so he can pretty much play as normal throughout the Variant 2. One thing is, I have to mention though, if you shoot your level 3, you may not get your Fury if level 3 gets glanced, so quite often I just skip the level 3s in Variant 2 and just rely on his base damage and extra added damage that opponents are taking from glancing your hits. So yeah, level 3 is kind of take it or leave it, because yeah, you might not get your Fury, and then it seems kind of like a waste. But regardless, he deals with variant 2 with an ease. Also, another fun example is Explosive Personality. Now, I am gonna have a mess up in this fight, so he's gonna tag me at some point. But the point is, Explosive Personality, when we hit opponent's block, if we get to 5 armor ups, we're supposed to take a chunk of damage. However, opponent is doing that for us. So there are quite a few matchups where Explosive Personality can be an annoying node if you combine it with an annoying opponent. And yeah, so Namor absolutely can cheese that fight just by purposely striking opponent's block and letting opponent take damage for us. Now there, I ate the level 1, that was my slip up, but now we're back in the rhythm to finish off the fight. And yeah, this is in Act 6.1 something, where you have to shoot special attack every 15 hits, but that really isn't an issue here for Namor, just because we're mainly striking the block anyways. And here we're just gonna finish it off with a couple of level 2s, just because we entered our Imperious Rex and, well, we got all that extra power, so we might as well use it. So next fight is going to be quite interesting, and that's the special delivery node. Basically, we can't use same special attack twice in a row, or we're going to lose 50% of our health. So we're going to check out what's going to happen here. And this is another example of how versatile and useful Namor can be. The thing with Namor though is quite often you have to rely on being able to time things precisely, so it does take a certain skill cap to be able to pull these things off. But anyway, so here we triggered a level 1, so basically now we cannot use a level 1 or we're gonna lose 50% of our health due to node. However, that is exactly what we do here. We made sure opponent had no power, we used our level 1, and then we made sure we get an opening. And while the timer expired for us to take damage, we were striking Moon Knight and he took 15k damage for us. So that was super simple, easy way to deal additional 15k damage to Moon Knight just by kind of cheesing the node in a sense, kind of like, because we did exactly what the node kind of like wanted us not to do, and the opponent took the penalty for us. So it's always kind of funny and interesting how you can do these things with Namor. Next we're gonna go to 623, I believe, and that is gonna be Icarus node. So next fight example is gonna be Icarus node in 623, I believe, and that's gonna be Ant-Man. And here's another good example of how versatile Namor can be. So we're going to be starting to take degeneration damage. However, while we're striking the opponent, Ant-Man is taking the degen for us, and we're just kind of chilling and healing of willpower. So for most part, as long as we manage to stay aggressive, we have absolutely no problems keeping our health up. Now I did make a slip up there. I meant to chain that level 2 at the end of my combo. I was lucky he didn't throw the special 3. But now we're gonna go on a simpler fight like Hulk, and we're gonna see how that one works out, because that glancing was absorbing a lot of our damage. So now we're starting the fight at 97%, and obviously with suicides we're meant to be losing health. However, we're striking him, so he's taking suicide damage for us, and our health is still relatively up there. We're not ignoring all the degen damage and healing of willpower and giving him the suicide damage. 23 hits, and we finished on 96% despite kind of having suicides on and all that. So Namor, super suicide friendly, can cheese a lot of the new nodes. Now we're going to be taking a look at how Namor does against shock. Now this node does make us start with heal block and armor break, which is annoying. That means we're going to be taking extra damage at the beginning of the fight till the heal block wears off, but the shock is still going to be there because shock lasts for like a full minute. But again, even though we can't heal while heal block was active, we still gave Captain Marvel all the damage we would have taken otherwise. And now, once heal block has expired, so long as we're striking opponent, we're actually healing of that shock, and you can see that we are in fact recovering quite a bit of health. And it's kind of extremely useful thing, just because this works on all damage over time debuffs, whether you do poison, bleed, shock, incinerate path, or whatever you may. You can just have opponent take majority of the damage from that node instead of yourself, and you can use a debuff to heal via willpower. Now it also, Namor works extremely well with Starburst nodes, just because of his explosive nature. He can pretty much bypass Starburst for most part. And also, this was a fight in 6-2-5, where we basically had to intercept our heavy attack opponent, otherwise we would take a lot of damage in the end. However, Namor can pretty much bypass it, and we don't have to worry about intercepting and heavy attacks, because opponent is going to take the damage as we are killing them. Anyways, so now we're going to take a look at 6.22 and the big Incinerate node. So basically our crits do double damage. However, if we damage opponent for more than 5% of their health with our crit, we're going to have a big Incinerate on us. And that is exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to shoot off a big level 2, I believe, and we're going to get incinerated. And then, so long as we're going to be aggressive, we're going to make sure that Falcon is going to take the Incinerate damage for us. So now the Incinerates are ticking super aggressively. However, all that extra damage is going to Falcon instead of us. Now, we did eat up some damage, and that's going to be the thing with Namor. Quite often when you're kind of cheesing these nodes and when you're transferring damage, you do end up chipping your own health away too, as I'm going to show on Biohazard on the same map. So you can use Namor for many different fights, and he's extremely versatile. However, quite often he's not going to be really up to doing the entire path, just because you do end up having some sort of damage placed on you, and you are not always able to strike opponents, so you quite often will lose some chunks of your health. However, still, just the ability to enter so many different fights and come out victorious, I think is extremely valuable for Namor. Also, the fact that you can simply just throw him in the team, he doesn't need any synergies or special preparation or anything, is just amazing. And yeah, in this video we're just flat out taking on Biohazard with a non-immune champion, and we're actually using that damage to damage opponent instead. So there you go. That's what I think about Namor. I think Namor is extremely useful tool to have for each and every summoner. Now we're going to show how 3k 3-star Namor is faring against Act 5 Electro that has 20k health. And it's just amazing. I think even as a 4-star, Namor can do a lot for you, and it's going to be one of those kind of timeless champions with a really unique ability that every summoner should have access to. Just like we have Void to deal with insane healing, just how we have Ronan and Morningstar to deal with large amount of buffs, and so on and so forth. And I think everybody should have some version of Namor, or do what they can to get their hands on some version of Namor to help you out against Electros, Korgs, Psychic Torrents, or many fights of the sort. So when it comes to like where I would rate Namor, I do think he is up there along with the best champions. Do I think he's like top 5 in the game? No, just because his damage is quite lackluster if you're not kind of reflecting damage back to the opponent, and then you need to get your level 3, and it's not a simple fight. Unfortunately, I see Namor kind of being overused recently when I'm watching Alliance War footages and stuff like that, because people just want to play the new champions. Whether he is the best answer for the fight or not, people just go in with Namor and try to get the level 3s and try to do the insane burst amounts. And if that works out, fine, but it's not an easy thing. It is still kind of fairly tricky thing to time your double furies to access that insane damage, not to mention it's hidden behind level 3, so it's quite far in the fight, and that leaves a lot of time kind of where you're hardly dealing any damage. So basically, do I think Namor's god tier? Yes, definitely. Do I think he's an ideal questing champion for like casual questing or taking him in for as many fights as you can? Definitely not. There are many champions that can do the same thing, access great damage, a lot easier, a lot safer. Now, do I think there are many situations where he's going to become useful and he's going to be potentially the best answer? 100%. The ability to heal off suicides, the insane damage potential, the versatility of his signature ability are all extremely great traits, and nobody should underestimate how valuable Namor is. However, it is not a champion you want to spam for every single fight. Leave that bit to Ghost, to Corvus, to all of your kind of high damage dealing champions from get-go, because that is going to be a much easier way to carry on. But that's going to be about it for me in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm gonna see you guys soon. Oh yeah guys, almost forgot. Definitely do hit that like button, subscribe button if you haven't yet, and share it with your friends, share it with your alliance, and just stay away from the dislike button. All the other ones are good. So yeah,